What's cracking, YouTube? What's going on? This is BDGE Fantasy Football, and I believe we have the final setup for how I will be presenting to you, how I will be coming live, doing my featured films from now on. Already fucked this up, watching myself, watch you guys. We're talking winners, we're talking losers of... Are we still live? Bark twice if we are. Yeah, we're talking winners, we're talking losers from the 2020 NFL Draft. You know, I was going to have this video done up, nicely edited and produced, but I didn't have time to get it done yesterday. I didn't have time to get it done yesterday and edited. So I was like, listen, we about to do it live for y'all. We're gonna chop it up. I'm gonna go through my whole spiel first, all right, as if this was a normal video coming out of the headquarters, and then I will take some user questions. I will take some fan Q&As. Tell me I look cute. I'll announce that on air for sure. Get your 15 seconds of fame. This will be fun. So we're gonna go over not the rookies. We're gonna go over the veterans. Maybe they're even second year guys. At what year do you consider someone a veteran? I would say like once you're into year 3, you're kind of a vet in the league, right? Like you've been through all the rookie hazing. Sophomore year, you're just getting your foot grounded in. And then year 3, I think you're a vet. I think you're a vet. So I'm a fucking vet on this YouTube shit. So I'm going to let this roll off. Let's start this. Let's talk about the quarterbacks. At first, I didn't really know how to do this because I was like, how in-depth do I go? Like, okay, was Calvin Ridley technically a fucking winner because there's no wide receivers drafted there? No. So we're going to do like the real fantasy guys impacted from the draft. And we're going to start with Gardner Minshew, I think, because he's a favorite of mine in terms of Superflex leagues this year at quarterback, right? He's a guy with a very high rushing floor, a guy that we didn't know was going to come into the year with the starting designation for Jacksonville as their quarterback. Now, there was a lot of speculation. There were a lot of rumors swirling about that they might actually trade up and try to grab Tua or one of the quarterbacks here. They didn't do that. So it tells you for at least the next year, Gardner Minshew is the guy there. They also drafted Laviska Shenault, who is a very, very dynamic playmaker, and we'll talk about him a little more when we touch on the boy, DJ Chark, the god, the outside winged god, who is destined for greatness in 2020. So Gardner Minshew definitely stonks up. I would have liked them to have invested maybe something into the offensive line, seeing as how they were the 9th worst team in pass blocking last year. He was pressured on 35% of his dropbacks. So that remains to be seen. But the fact that, you know, they got a shitty offensive line, he is a mobile quarterback, and he will use that to his advantage when he's under pressure, I think is not a terrible thing for fantasy. So Gardner Minshew, winner in the quarterback position. Dak Prescott, obvious winner. Anytime you could add a guy like CeeDee Lamb to your roster, got to do it unless you're the Oakland Raiders. Speaking of the Oakland Raiders, they ended up, you know, they took a lot of wide receivers in the draft. They have a lot of unique talent on their roster now between Henry Ruggs and Lynn Bowden and Brian Edwards. So Derek Carr or Marcus Mariota, whoever ends up being the quarterback for the entirety of the 2020 season, I'd imagine both guys are going to end up getting starts at one point or another. But I always talk about how a quarterback, you know, those mid-range quarterbacks, we talk about elite quarterbacks in fantasy. We talk about terrible quarterbacks in fantasy. There's a range of spectrums, I think, when it comes to pure passers, right? There's only a very few number of guys who have that accuracy that you consider, you know, franchise-altering accuracy. You know, the guys like Andrew Luck, the guys like Drew Brees, the guy like Aaron Rodgers in his prime. 90% of quarterbacks in the NFL, even if they are the starting quarterbacks, are not going to have that type of accuracy. So for fantasy, we're kind of left, you know, holding our dick in our hands and saying, what do we expect from these guys? I think you look no further than the weapons around them, the pass blocking line, the weapons that they're throwing to, and the rushing upside. So Derek Carr gets some nice pieces added, but he's kind of proven that he's not a great NFL quarterback. Their O-line is good, so I will take a shot on Derek Carr later in drafts this year. But, you know, kind of transitioning from that point is Drew Lock. Drew Lock was not a guy I was excited to draft this year at all. But Drew Lock and this Denver Broncos team are going to be an exciting offense for fantasy because they go out, they draft Jerry Jeudy with their first round pick. They already have Cortland Sutton. They add Melvin Gordon, who is at worst an above average pass catching back. He's had the volume to show you that he's a very good pass catching back in the league. They had KJ Hamler, the absolute speedster, in the second round, and they add who the fuck did they add as their fourth wide receiver or third wide receiver? They add Albert O as another field stretching tight end behind Noah Fant, who they already have. And then why is this slipping my name right now? I think that might have been it. Jerry Jeudy, KJ Hamler, Albert O. And they have Courtland Sutton already there, Noah Fant already there. Now Lindsey and Melvin make a very, very dynamic backfield. So Drew Luck, absolute huge winner. Again, not going to have the pinpoint accuracy, but you're going to be as good as the weapons around you. And I've made this point a few times this week already. With Drew Lock, with the Denver Broncos, it's extremely clear. With the Denver Broncos, with the Oakland Raiders, man, they had one thing on their mind. How do we match KC's speed? We have to fight fire with fire. We got to fight speed with speed. That's the only way we're going to get this shit done. They invested heavily in their offensive weapons. They're going to turn the dial up. It's not going to be a run-heavy team anymore. I think they let Drew Lock loose a little bit. I think they let him take over the reins and at least pass the ball. Last year, I don't know if he ever threw the ball over 33 times in a single game. I think the average over those 5 starts was like 28 or 29 attempts. And I think we see that very, very much increase. So we're still on the quarterbacks, obviously. I'll talk about Courtland Sutton a little bit later. But with Drew Lock, this is a huge, massive upgrade, right? He's not in trouble for getting that quarterback spot taken. They're not. I don't think they're going to sign Cam Newton or any of the guys that are left, Andy Dalton or whatever. If they do, that would cause a little bit of concern for me with Drew Lock if you're investing in him in Superflex or Dynasty leagues, because when you have a competent second string quarterback, a backup quarterback, it makes the leash a lot shorter for guys that might be turnover prone. Like 2 years ago, Jameis Winston was putting up ridiculous stats, and then he got benched for Ryan Fitzpatrick. And then last year, when he had no real backup quarterback, they had no choice but to keep trotting him out there after 30 fucking interceptions, right? So that's the problem. It's like you have 1 3-interception game or 4-interception game, and they could sit you. But if they don't have a real backup quarterback, that's never going to be the case. So them, not having an actual secondary choice behind Drew Lock makes me very confident that even if when he has his bad games, which he's definitely going to have, they're going to keep him on the field. And Drew Lock is a guy that I'm probably going to be investing in if he starts to drop a little bit in value. I'm not going to be investing like high picks into him for Dynasty, right? Because I'm a little bit nervous. I'm always nervous about investing in guys long term who we kind of know have accuracy issues right now. I'm not saying Drew Lock's a bad or good quarterback. I don't know, but the weapons are certainly fucking there. So you got a guy like Jeudy, as Animal would put it. It's like when you're trying to stick to this. This is how he described Jerry Jeudy's separation skills. When you're trying to stick a magnet to the back of another magnet and you can't quite get them together, that's what every cornerback trying to cover Jerry Jeudy is. They just cannot stick to the guy. So Judy's an amazing separator. KJ Hamler, really, really, really upper echelon speed. I think Denver Broncos fans, you might not know much about Hamler coming out of Penn State, but this guy is exciting. Imagine like Taylor Gabriel actually being a good wide receiver. Like that's the kind of dynamic he brings to this offense. Courtland Sutton obviously is an exciting possession number 1 receiver who also excels down the field too. So it's not just like Hamler's a specialty guy down the field. I think we're going to see a lot of deep ball attempts this year to Sutton, to Jeudy, to Hamler. And then you have over the middle, you have Albert O and Noah Fant kind of stretching the field. So I'm excited for Drew Lock this year. And then we had the obvious ones with Baker Mayfield, Daniel Jones, Sam Darnold, who all get their left tackles. Daniel Jones was the single highest pressured quarterback last year on his dropbacks. Pressured on 41.7% of his dropbacks last year. Sam Darnold right behind him, 41.6% of his dropbacks he was under pressure on. So all 3 of those guys, all 3 of them young quarterbacks, face of the franchise, get their left tackles. So you got to like that. Overall, I mean, they didn't really add weapons to DJ's arsenal. Not that he really needed it because they have, they got Barkley, they have Slayton, they have Golden Tate, they have Sterling Shepard, they have Evan Ingram. So they got a good thing there. Baker's got the weapons, of course. Now they got Conklin in free agency. They have Wills through the draft. So they should have a nice short up offensive line. Baker's a guy I'll invest back into. Definitely not as a top 10 fantasy quarterback, but if he starts slipping to, quarterback 17, 18, 19 in Superflex, he's someone I'll pull the trigger on. Darnold, definitely less or more hesitant, I should say, but less likely to draft in Superflex. Like, I still think his upside is super high. You got to understand that. I'm going to pull up the numbers now, but I believe Sam Darnold is still unbelievably young. He's 22 years old still. Sam Darnold's 22 years old. So he's got every chance in the world to continue playing for the next 10 years. They obviously haven't put the pieces around him to make that happen, but Mekhi Becton, they bring in Denzel Mims, who I love as a prospect. They did let go of Robbie Anderson, of course. They added Rashad Perriman. As long as Gase is there, they're going to have trouble, which does kind of concern me long-term because if Gase is there, then that's just concerning outright in itself. If Gase is not there, then that means Sam Darnold's going to have to start over next year or 2 years down the road with a new coordinator, a new scheme, and things like that. And you don't want to put your young quarterback through all these changes, right? It's what can mess up a career when they're early on and starting. So Darnold, I'm a little bit more hesitant, but the fact that he's still so young and they are starting to build around him a little bit, you have to like at least a direction that they're thinking of for the team. In terms of losers. Aaron fucking Rodgers, man. I know you guys have probably heard it all by now. This is like 4 days after the NFL draft wrapped up. So if you didn't already know, Green Bay had one of the single worst fucking NFL drafts I have ever seen. They take a backup. Aaron Rodgers is set to, regardless of before they took Jordan Love, I mean, realistically, he's got like a 2 to 3 year window to make that one more Super Bowl run. I understand the idea of investing into your future as a franchise, but it's like when you play Dynasty leagues. It's like, do you want to keep compiling future picks or do you want to actually try to win the league? Like, it's really fun to project into the future, but at the end of the day, it's a fantasy football league and you're trying to win the championship. If you can have a great roster, you can have 38 picks, but if you're not going to win the league, what's the point of playing, So that's what I'm looking at with Green Bay, and I'm like, dude, they got like a very short window to make this run happen to the Super Bowl. And it does not. This draft said the exact opposite. They did not help. I mean, they had behind Devontae Adams, their wide receiver group was fucking ugly. This is one of the deepest wide receiver groups we have seen come out in the NFL draft in so long, and they decided literally not to draft one wide receiver. Like any of the top 35 wide receiver prospects in this class, I would have been excited about. Any of the top 35 could have been a fucking 5th or 6th round pick. Top 35, I'm cool with that. I'm like, yay, they got Rodgers some fucking help. They decided not to do that. They took a running back when they already had a good... Okay, when you think of... I don't care if you dislike or like A.J. Dillon, but think of what he brings to this. First of all, second-round draft capital. Like, look at the other 5 guys that went before him. Any guy that went in the first or second round. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Jonathan Taylor, DeAndre Swift, J.K. Dobbins, Cam Akers. The only other running back that went in the second round, A.J. Dillon. One of these things does not belong. A.J. Dillon goes in the second round when, again, they could have had a really good wide receiver. They could have boosted their offensive line, which is, year in and year out good, or defense, whatever. They could have went fucking any other direction besides running back. What A.J. Dillon brings to this team, I'm not even sure, because he's a literal zero in the passing game. His freshman year at Boston College, he literally caught 0 passes while having 300 carries. I don't even know how that's physically, humanly possible, but he did it. A.J. Dillon is incredible. He's elite in that sense. But A.J. Dillon, okay, here's what he comes to the backfield. They have Aaron Jones, they have Jamal Williams. I know we think of A.J. Dillon and his fat ass about being a great blocker, whatever, because he's got the size. Jamal Williams has been year in and year out. This is one of the reasons they love Jamal Williams so much. One of the best pass blocking running backs in the entire NFL. So right here, A.J. Dillon is not better than Jamal Williams at pass blocking. Pass catching, obviously 0. Running between the tackles, Aaron Jones has been one of the single best in between the tackles, outside of the tackles, short yardage. Aaron Jones literally ran for 16 touchdowns last year. There's no reason to strip him of goal line duties. Maybe they do it, but there is no reason for that pick because A.J. Dillon, in every sense of what a running back can bring to a team, is a downgrade. Overall, sure, he might be a good quarterback for the future, and I understand, y'all, it was a future pick because both guys are off their contract, but a second-round pick into someone, you don't know if you're going to be extending Aaron Jones or not for the future of this team. When you're trying to win right now, man, I really don't like that pick. So Aaron Rodgers, and then 3rd round, they go with the tight end when they're supposedly so high on Jay Sternberger. Man, I don't fucking know. So Aaron Rodgers, huge loser. I will definitely not be drafting him top 10. This team wants to be very run heavy. Matt LaFleur came out and said that he's like, yeah, this is a run first team. They're not going to have the pass attempts there for Rodgers, and they certainly don't have the weapons there outside of Devontae Adams. So loser. But when we talk about winners in the wide receiver section, Devontae Adams, man, again, the target numbers that he's going to get on a game-to-game basis because they didn't bring in any other weapons is going to be absurd. So he's been moving up my seasonal rankings, week after week after week. because of what we just saw in the NFL draft. I was so sure they were going to take another wide receiver opposite him or bring one in via free agency, like a Robbie Anderson type or something like that to stretch the field. But they didn't, which tells me, Aaron Rodgers and Adams have incredible connection already. They have this incredible chemistry, whether it's in the red zone or just, between the 20s. It's his first, second, third, and fourth read every single play. So Devontae Adams, he makes a case to be the wide receiver 2 in fantasy football drafts this year, right? It's clearly Michael Thomas in his own elite tier. But I think right behind him, you can make the case for Devontae Adams over Tyreek Hill, over Julio Jones, over DeAndre Hopkins. For me, DeAndre Hopkins is not even in that tier with those first 3, the Devontae Adams, Tyreek Hill, and Julio Jones. I don't like this switch over to a new team. But like Devontae Adams, it would not surprise me whatsoever if Devontae Adams finished as the wide receiver 2. The overall volume in that offense, though, does scare me from a passing standpoint. But Devontae Adams, thankfully, has such a big piece of the pie. So I'm excited for Devontae Adams as a winner. Allen Lazard is the other winner on that team because they did not draft a wide receiver. He had emerged as the wide receiver 2 on that team towards the end of the year. And the other thing, again, like this is not something I really read into too often, but with the Packers I do. Aaron Rodgers loves Allen Lazard. The coaching staff loves Allen Lazard. When you look at Allen Lazard's profile athletically, let me pull it up here for you guys. I don't know where the fuck it is. Allen, where are you, Allen? It'd be so fucking weird to be named Allen in today's day and age. I'm sorry if you're out there and you're named Allen, but it's like being named Deborah. So Allen Lazard is big. He's a big dude, 6'3", 225. College dominator, and this is the difference between we get excited about Allen Lazard and his athletic profile, right? 87th percentile for weight-adjusted speed score, really good burst score and catch radius. He is the build to be that true X-prototypical alpha receiver on the outside. And with MVS, we're like, oh, the athletics were good, but MVS was terrible in college, right? If you look at Lazard's numbers, he went to Iowa State, so he's in Power 5 conferences. College dominator, 61st. College target share, 85th percentile. Breakout age, 71st percentile. So, he was good in college, and he was good at a young age. So, he checks a lot of the boxes outside of the draft capital. But as long as Rodgers likes him and talks about how he has good chemistry with him and he thinks he should get more on the field, I would expect that to be the case. So, Lazard is a sneaky, low-key, very big winner in the NFL draft for them not having picked up a wide receiver. What else we got? Let me make sure YouTube is up and running still. Hey, easy on the Allens. I'm sorry, Allen. I didn't mean that, baby. Let's go with DJ Chark, my boy. So DJ Chark. The reason I call him as a winner is because it's very possible. We heard so many rumors with Jacksonville. They were going to trade up to get a quarterback. They were going to take CeeDee Lamb. They're going to take some other wide receiver. It's very possible that they did not view DJ Chark as a true alpha in this offense, and they could have went and signed CeeDee Lamb, or they could have went and or drafted CeeDee Lamb, or even a Jerry Jeudy would make me extremely nervous with DJ Chark there. But it seems that they waited till the second round. They took Laviska Shenault. And I think the two are very, very different players in a sense. Laviska is an exciting rookie. He's someone that is built like a running back and runs like a running back when he's on the field. He led the NCAA in broken tackles last year at the wide receiver position. So he brings a new element to the offense that I don't think takes away from DJ Chark. I need people to understand how good DJ Chark was last year. He commanded almost 120 targets last year. That was while Leonard Fournette saw a buck. He saw 100 targets last year, and that's not going to happen again. Also, I think Dede Westbrook and Chris Conley combined for nearly 200 targets as well. So you're throwing 300 targets basically into fucking black holes over there. So I think a lot of those go over to Shenault. I think Shenault comes right in, takes over that wide receiver 2 role, makes the offense a little bit more efficient. But I don't think that takes away from Chark. I would project Chark to remain the alpha, remain the downfield deep specialist, and see a lot of very valuable targets. So I would project him for, again, if you don't think he's going to improve on it, even if he has the same numbers as last year, 120 targets is no fucking joke. That's top 15, top 20 numbers. And I think that's probably his floor. So I think DJ Chark came off as a big winner with the fact that they didn't draft a true alpha to compete with him for targets. Let's talk about some losers. So the obvious loser here is Michael Gallup of the Cowboys. You bring in CeeDee Lamb, who is going to be just as talented, if not more talented than Amari Cooper within the next few years. So the entire situation, and I didn't realize this, but in the press conference after the draft, someone, I can't remember who mentioned it, maybe Scott Barrett, he was on the Breakout Finder podcast yesterday or today or something, And they said that the Cowboys came out and said that they were looking for, obviously CeeDee Lamb was one of their top players. I believe he was a number 6 overall player on the board for them. So when he dropped to 17, it was a fucking no-brainer smash button. Same goes for you guys. No-brainer fucking smash the likes button, baby. Thumbs up button, whatever the fuck they do on YouTube. So as I was saying about my love for CeeDee Lamb, when he dropped to 17, it was an easy pick for them. And they said that they were looking for a real wide receiver too, which is weird considering Gallup just had such a big year, but that absolutely crushed him because he's like, when we talk about tiers, if you want to talk about talent, like Cooper and CeeDee Lamb up here, and Michael Gallup's like off the screen in my kitchen over there. So this is a problem for him. Cooper's guaranteed no money past 2021. And I really liked Cooper coming into this year. The way I look at it is this offense, between Mike McCarthy being a very pass-heavy offensive coordinator, offensive mind, I should say, as a head coach, and Kellen Moore, who kept that pace of that offense up to really, really high levels last year, they're going to put up the number. Dak's going to get his 48 to 5,000 passing yards this year for sure. How that's split up amongst them, that becomes the question. So I think Cooper's play, while his ceiling was really high, it becomes way more inconsistent. So if you were worried about the up and down games that Cooper has, this throws even more of a heavy wrench into the equation. Now, Amari Cooper gets definitely a downgrade for me just overall because I think he'll be a little bit more inconsistent. Those ceiling weeks might not be as ceiling-y, fucking Sistine Chapel-like they might have been before. Sorry for taking the Sistine Chapel's name in vain. Michael Gallup is a huge loser, though. He's someone that probably takes the biggest hit of the wide receivers that we were excited about going forward. Takes a big hit in Dynasty. Redraft, he drops down. I would easily take CeeDee Lamb over Michael Gallup in a redraft now. And he drops to probably a double-digit pick for me because he doesn't really give you any type of ceiling. And I don't know if his floor is really that good either now with all these targets to go around. So he was a big loser to me. Courtland Sutton was a big loser in the same way that, Cooper was. And I think Courtland Sutton is a phenomenal player and a really good talent and still going to be very good for fantasy. He's not going to move that far down my ranks, but it's just the overall added weapons to this group: Melvin Gordon, Alberto, KJ Hamler, and of course Jerry Jeudy. So Sutton, when they get into those positions in the game where Drew Lock's like, who do I trust the most? Who am I going to go to? We're not really sure that Courtland Sutton's going to be that guy anymore. Like last year on the field, you look at it, it was like Courtland Sutton or nobody. There was no one else for Drew Lock to really work with. So when you look at Courtland Sutton now, it's like, yes, he's still for right now, he's the best wide receiver on the field. I don't know if that's the case in a year when we look back in a year or two and see what Jerry Jeudy has become. He's such a good route runner. He's such a good separator that he might become the guy that gets those go-to targets. And Sutton's 8 to 9 target games might more so settle around the 5 to 6 range. And maybe I'm wrong about the overall Denver offense too, right? Like what if Denver does continue to remain a very run-heavy team? I really don't think that's the case because you could see what they're doing by their moves. Like the team they're putting together is to push the ball downfield. But maybe for this year they do remain run heavy, and that of course just takes more volume out of Sutton's hands. So Sutton he might actually drop to a value where people are going to be so hands off of him because of the weapons there that he becomes a good value in a redraft. But overall, it's definitely a losing situation for Sutton. Let's talk about some running backs. I'm doing most of this just off the top of the fucking dome, guys. So if I miss out on a lot of players, I sincerely don't fucking apologize to a single person. Running backs. We'll get this out of the way first. The default winners here are Leonard Fournette and Todd Gurley, as much as this pains me to say it. Jacksonville didn't draft a running back, but keep your fucking eye on Devine Ozigbo. If he's on your waiver wire in Dynasty, get that boy. Todd Gurley, the Falcons didn't fucking draft a running back, which was out of control. I don't even want to get into our draft overall as a whole because this shit's going to make me angry and probably turn off the live stream sooner rather than later. So Gurley, I guess, but the thing about both of these situations are yes, they're default winners, but all you heard throughout the entire NFL draft and leading up to it was how badly the Jacksonville Jaguars wanted to deal away Fournette. They don't want him to be that guy. They don't want him to be their starting running back anymore. They tried very desperately to trade him away. So that scares me, number one. But he's going to be in line for a monster workload. The thing that scares me with Gurley is they came out before the draft and said that he's going to be a guy in the rotation. They weren't like, yeah, we expect Gurley to be our workhorse. Like they don't have those plans for him. I mean, it wasn't a big contract that he signed, and their team came out. Like the coaches and the GM was like, we plan to use Gurley in a rotational mode, and that was prior to the NFL draft. So they did draft one, but I still don't see how Gurley gets more than 15 touches a game, which could make him a good value. But the offensive line in Atlanta is not good. Dirk Cutter is a horrible fucking offensive coordinator when it comes to having success on the ground. So I'm Gurley. I'm hands off of Fournette. If he drops in value, I might pull the trigger on it. But overall, they win because they didn't draft any running backs. I would be surprised if the Falcons don't end up signing a veteran running back at some point in this offseason. Like I was fucking around and I tweeted out like, oh, Devonta Freeman's definitely going to re-sign with the Falcons now, huh? But I also wouldn't be surprised if he can't find a role elsewhere, if he can't find a job elsewhere, if we just brought him back in because, this is a short season where we don't have time to fucking teach all our players the new playbooks and things like that. Devonta Freeman comes right back in and knows everything in the playbook. So if he is okay signing like a really shitty contract, I really wouldn't be surprised to see Devonta Freeman come back to the Falcons, and that's just a disgusting backfield you want absolutely no part of. Same thing with Daniel Jones, Saquon Barkley, winner because they took the O-tackle. They also took a third-round offensive lineman who Snacks was excited. He says, oh, we got the two best fucking offensive linemen in the draft. Snacks is dumbass. Kenyon Drake, I think, was another winner. I really like Eno Benjamin, but the fact that he went all the way in the 7th round, I mean, you just got to be fucking real with yourself. Those 7th-round running backs, it's like once every 10 years one of those guys fucking hits. So Kenyon Drake is in line for a monster workload, man. Not that I really thought that they were going to draft a running back, but like they didn't sign a veteran. They didn't draft a running back before round 7. So it's like they're really giving the keys to the backfield to Kenyon Drake, and it's fucking wheels up for Drake season 2020. Same thing could be said for Miles Sanders. Man, the more I think about the situation with Miles Sanders, the more I keep moving him further and further and further up my rankings in redraft and dynasty as well. This is going to be at worst an average offense, if not above average. And Sanders has nobody to compete for with touches outside of like Boston Scott. And I know Peterson wants to use that running back by committee, but last year it made sense to be weary of Sanders for the running back by committee thing, only because Jordan Howard, if involved, would be taking a lot of the valuable work off of that committee. Like Jordan Howard, I think what do you have, like 6 or 7 rushing touchdowns in the first half of the season before he got hurt? Like that's valuable. Who the fuck is taking the goal line work now that Miles Sanders is entrenched as the starter? And I think they just had a report come out on RotoWorld actually about Miles Sanders. Let me try to snag that for you. You know what I love about this new software I'm using for live streaming? This is why I've been live streaming so much lately, because Ecamm Live, ECAMM, any of you creators out there need a live stream software, is fucking magical. Here we go. Because I could do a quick screenshot. Bing, bang, boom. And, fuck me. No, we Gucci. And this is the report that came out. The Athletic Zach Berman has Miles Sanders entrenched as the Eagles' #1 running back headed into the summer. We haven't had a blurb on Sanders since the Eagles' wildcard loss to the Seahawks. Blah, 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 blah. Jordan Howard is in Miami. Darren Sproles retired. And Corey Clement is a free agent. I believe Clement, maybe he did re-sign. I forget. I think I saw something on Corey Clement, but Clement's fucking terrible. There's no way he's actually taking valuable work away from Miles Sanders. They didn't sign any free agents or spend a draft pick on a running back. So it's literally just Miles Sanders and Boston Scott. And yes, Boston Scott is a good pass catching back. He's shifty. He's fun to think about. But like Miles Sanders, it's not like Jordan Howard splitting time with Boston Scott, where Boston Scott will be the clear pass catcher. Miles Sanders is dynamite in the passing game. Super explosive, very good at catching the ball. He's just athletic. So like even if Boston Scott takes half of the running back targets, like Miles Sanders is still going to catch 50 balls plus the majority of the early down work and the goal line work. So Miles Sanders, if he drops in drafts, I feel like, I don't know. I'm going to be pulling the trigger a lot on Miles Sanders in 2020. So he came away as a pretty big winner for me. For the losers, a lot of running back losers in this draft. So we have the one, obviously, that's Kerryon Johnson, because DeAndre Swift, who's a more talented back, comes in. I want to preface by saying the same thing with Kerryon Johnson and Marlon Mack. Both of these running backs are not going to come in and steal all the carries right away. Jonathan Taylor is not going to be the 20-plus touch guy in 2020. Neither is DeAndre Swift. We don't know if DeAndre Swift is ever going to get that under fucking running back by Patricia. It's a shitty situation, kind of. But here's what I'll say. Kerryon and Marlon Mack are both, at worst, they're above average running backs in the NFL. And they're both very young still, right? It's not like Damian Williams in Kansas City where, he's getting pushed out for this new, younger, better, fresher, higher draft capital running back, and he's going to be like 28 or 29 by the time his contract is done. Kerryon, I believe, is – how old is Kerryon? I mean, he's on his third-year contract. What is he going to be, 24 or something right now? Kerryon's 22, so he's going to be 23 by the start of the season. Mack, I know, is pretty young as well. Mack is 24, and he won't be 25 for a long time. So both of these guys are going to get done with their contracts. Marlon Mack has just this year remaining. Kerryon does have 2 years. But both of them are going to be done with their first contracts and still be viewed as a very capable NFL running back. So that's to say, I believe I talked about this in my rookie video, actually, but that's to say that if you have them in Dynasty, you're not dropping them for dead weight. They're not nothing to you, all right? So make sure you value them accordingly because I could guarantee you just look at fucking Jordan Howard. Jordan Howard's been hanging around getting his value fucking plunged up. Last year, he was the starter in a great situation in Philly until he got hurt. This year, he moves to Miami where, they traded for Matt Breida, but it was best possible case scenario for Jordan Howard owners. So that's the hope for like a Marlon Mack or a Kerryon Johnson. What if one of them? Okay, this is a very reasonable scenario. Marlon Mack is a free agent next year. He signs with San Fran. By this time next year, Mostert is not going to be like their workhorse starting running back. I think Coleman's probably got to be done with his contract. Jerick McKinnon will be coming off another knee injury, I'm sure. Like, if Marlon Mack goes to San Fran at the age of 25, you're really fucking excited for that. But make sure you don't sell him on the cheap because if you're selling him right now, you're getting him for probably nothing. I would look to hold on to those guys if I could, milk them for this last year, and then hopefully that they sign somewhere in free agency where their value shoots the fuck up. That being said, both their values for redraft this year are pretty much undraftable because we have no idea at what point these younger rookies who will take over the majority of the workload in the backfield will assume that role. It'll be 50-50 splits for both guys to start off the season, most likely. We don't know who's going to get the pass-catching work in Detroit, so both guys take big hits. Darrell Henderson, undraftable basically with Cam Akers there. They used literally their first pick in the NFL draft while they had plenty of holes on the roster, especially their offensive line. They decided to use their first pick on what they thought was the biggest need in running back, and they took Cam Akers. So Darrell Henderson not drafting. Damian Williams, obviously his stock is done. I'm not going to be drafting Damian Williams outside of like a handcuff. What it does, it makes a lot of these guys like elite handcuffs, which is what we did not have, because not only are they just in good situations where if the starter, the rookie, gets hurt, they get that role, but we've already seen all these guys prove that they could be good NFL running backs. So like they're draftable, but don't look at them as anything more than handcuffs at this point. So Damian Williams' stock is hurting bad, right? CEH was a first-round pick. I don't expect this to be much of a committee. I expect CEH to come in there right away and rip off 16 to 18 touches a game, 5 or 6 by way of pass, and Damian to be like a breather back. Now, with the A.J. Dillon thing, I did mention that Aaron Jones and Jamal Williams are both free agents after this year. This is pretty much a death blow to Jamal Williams because, the only thing I mentioned really was the fact that he's a better pass blocker, but we don't use that shit for fantasy whatsoever. He's not really going to add a dynamic to anyone's team in fantasy that does anything besides that. Now, A.J. Dillon hurts Aaron Jones's value in the sense that we don't know what his role is going to be in the offense. Like, you can project as much as you want. I could sit here and tell you that Aaron Jones has been one of the best goal line and short yardage backs since he's come into the league, which would be big fucking facts. But maybe, just maybe, they look at A.J. Dillon and think he's thick. Let him pound it in. Let him get the goal line carries. You know what I mean? If Aaron Jones no longer is getting 16 rushing touchdowns and he gets 6 next year because A.J. Dillon gets 5 or something like that, right? That's a huge problem for Jones. So I think just naturally, Jones will still be a high floor play. I still expect him to get, double-digit carries and still probably catch 45 to 50 passes on the year. But don't expect those same touchdown numbers. The unknown has to factor into his outlook for next year a little bit. So Aaron Jones definitely takes a hit. I think this is a massive hit for him in Dynasty because we have no idea where he's going to end up. He could be, he could end up in a similar situation to what I just said, where San Francisco might sign him, and that would be fantastic. But again, Aaron Jones's value is so high right now. in Dynasty that this has to be a hit to him. Whereas Marlon Mack was not necessarily anywhere near. Like Jones was almost a second-round pick in Dynasty, where Mack probably like a fifth or sixth, which is why you want to wait to see if you can get that value up. Where Aaron Jones, even if Aaron Jones signs with San Fran after this summer, like it can't go any higher than it is now. Like he'll never be more than a second-round startup pick. So with Jones, it definitely hurts the value a little bit more in terms of like trade value. Devin Singletary is another loser in my eyes. I don't expect Zach Moss to come in and like take over the starting role. This is definitely Devin Singletary's role. But we heard Brandon Beane, the GM, come out already and talk about. I just finished my write-up on Zach Moss in our draft guide, which you guys can go cop right now. BigDogsDraftGuide.com. It's on pre-order price still, even though it's not even in pre-order anymore. It's actually launched and live, and you can get all the fucking rookie breakdowns that you want. If you think any of the information I'm giving you out right now is good, then this guide is going to be a fucking Bible to y'all. Again, I apologize for using the Lord and the Bible and Sistine Chapel and all that shit in vain. I did it again. I'm fucking on fire right now. BigDogDraftGuide.com. Pre-order price, you can get it even cheaper if you are eligible in one of the states that allows DraftKings or FanDuel, because we have been sponsored by Monkey Knife Fight. The draft guide has been sponsored by Monkey. Let me breathe for a minute. Hey, let me breathe for a minute. White Range Rover blowing trees all in it. Okay. BigDogsDraftGuide.com/MKF. You will be able to get both guides, the Rookie Dynasty plus the season long that will launch in July, which will help you for your redraft leagues, for $10. All you got to do is sign up on Monkey Knife Fight with the promo code BDGE. So you'll get $10 to play with on there, plus an extra $10 because they give you a 100% deposit bonus. So you get $20 to play with, plus the draft guides for free. So it's a $70 value, probably like $1 million value if I calculate my hourly cost correctly. The math adds up. BigDogDraftGuide.com/MKF. I just finished my write-up for Zach Moss on it, and I came away with from the write-up a lot more positively towards Zach Moss than I did prior to it after doing some research. Basically, the GM Brandon Beane came out and said that like Zach Moss is going to verbatim take Frank Gore's role, which is not good for Devin Singletary. It's not bad for Devin Singletary. Like we can expect similar numbers to what he did last year, involved in the passing game, getting 11 to 13 carries a game. But the hopes were that Devin Singletary, just like Aaron Jones last year, would get more involved on the goal line, and that would make him a true fantasy asset. So this hurts his ceiling a lot because Zach Moss is going to come in, and he said this. He's like, we want to use him on the short yardage. We want to use him in the goal line. We want to use him just like Frank Gore. Frank Gore is getting double-digit carries basically every single week, and he was getting the majority. He had, I believe the team had 18 goal line carries last year in total. Frank Gore had 11 of them. Josh Allen had 5 of them. So Devin Singletary was almost useless on the goal line, which means his touchdown numbers are going to be pretty shitty. And Zach, I would imagine over the course of their rookie contracts, both of them are very versatile players. Both of them can be very efficient, but both of them lack long speed and long like the home run play. I could absolutely see at one point during their rookie contracts, while they overlap, both of them going for 1,000 yards from scrimmage, right? Like maybe next year, Devin Singletary goes for 1,150 or 1,200, and Zach Moss eclipses the 1,000-yard mark. But this absolutely kills Devin Singletary's ceiling, in my opinion, because he's not going to get the goal line work, and he's got to continue to be extremely efficient to return. I mean, his yards per carry were like number 1 in the NFL last year, so he's got to continue that extremely high efficiency rate if he's not going to be scoring touchdowns. I do think he'll remain very involved in the passing game, but you got to be nervous about that. The other guys that were hurted by this draft were definitely J.K. Dobbins did the herding to the Baltimore Ravens backfield. The bike field. We're so bike. J.K. Dobbins, very bike. 103 right now in Dynasty rookie drafts. Also, I know I've been yelling the whole time, but y'all need to stop fucking yelling and tuck your shirts in. We're tucked in. We're ready to go. Ready to work. We're ready to talk about J.K. Dobbins killing the value of Mark Ingram, Justice Hill, and Gus Edwards. So, quickly, I mean, this is very obvious. Justice Hill was such an exciting prospect last year. I don't think his dynasty value is okay. It's kind of dead, but maybe, he's also young. So hopefully he can land somewhere in the second contract where he gets some work. He'll also end up probably being, depending on what they do with Ingram. Ingram is signed not through just this season, but the next season. They could probably get out of the contract after this one, but I expect Ingram, just like Marlon Mack, just like Kerryon Johnson, just like That's probably it. To be very involved in the offense still. Ingram was awesome for them last year. There's no reason to just give J.K. Dobbins all the work. This is also an offense that does not pass their running backs very much. So you have Ingram not really getting any passing work because I expect Dobbins to get a lot of it. And then you have, just him taking away early down work and being extremely efficient. So Ingram's value should plummet in redraft leagues. Though I don't listen, this is an offense that's going to move the ball a lot. They're going to run the ball a ton. They're going to score a lot. So Ingram, if he drops really low, he could still be a guy that you throw into your flex play and probably get a touchdown more weeks than not. I don't expect him to get 15 overall touchdowns, of course, next year, but I could see him still finishing with 7 or 8 rushing touchdowns, which is, you could definitely do worse, and I expect his value to probably be 8th or 9th round in redraft leagues. Not as exciting as a player that I would usually target in redraft leagues, but I think it makes sense just given the whole situation that we have in Baltimore. So it definitely hurts Mark Ingram. Justice Hill and Gus Edwards are pretty much out of the picture because I expect it to be just a complete two-man show between Dobbins and Ingram. Tight ends. So Darren Waller, obviously a huge loser. He was awesome last year. I still think he's a phenomenal football player. I don't think he was a guy who only benefited from the situation, but he benefited fucking greatly from the situation. I mean, his target share was incredible given the fact that they had no weapons, and the weapons they did have couldn't stay on the field, Tyrell Williams or whatever. So Waller now has to compete for targets with Tyrell Williams if he's healthy, Hunter Renfrow, but more importantly, these rookies coming in, Henry Ruggs, Lynn Bowden, who's actually listed as a running back, but I assume will play more of a hybrid weapon slot, and then Brian Edwards. So the target share is automatically going to go down. I expect this to be an offense that primarily at least tries to establish the run. I don't know if they'll be necessarily run heavy under Gruden. He's more of a passing coach, but with Josh Jacobs, their game plan, their initial game plan every week in and week out is probably going to be to run the ball a lot. So Darren Waller comes out as a big loser for me. I still think he's a tight end 1. He's someone that I would draft just based on his athleticism and the big plays we saw him make last year. And he's got the chemistry with Derek Carr that these rookies are not going to have because, again, this is a shortened season. So he's a loser to me overall. And then Noah Fant, of course, is going to have to take a step back because they had all the weapons. They had another explosive tight end behind him. So Noah Fant, if we were kind of banking on a breakout this year in the second year, I just don't imagine there will be anywhere near the type of volume that we can expect for him to have that breakout come through to fruition. Whew. Man, I just black out and do those videos sometimes. Hopefully some of that made sense. Hopefully we didn't pass away. Hopefully y'all got some good value from that. Man, why do we have 8 thumbs down? That's so disrespectful. There's someone that comes onto all the videos. There's someone that comes onto all my videos now, and immediately as they go out, there's 7 thumbs down. There's someone that just signs into 7 different YouTube accounts and fucking nails the thumbs down. It's actually I respect it. I really do. It gets me motivated. It does. Because I'm just fuck you. Fuck you. We're going to battle through. All right, let's take some questions. So there you go. I appreciate you guys hitting the thumbs up button. If you did get some value or information or whatever you got from this, that's how you let us know. That's how you let YouTube know that you want to see more of these videos. So thank you guys. Also subscribe to the channel if you're new, obviously. Okay, let's take some viewer questions. What about your boy Derrick Henry, winner? I just finished a Darrington Evans write-up as well. Derrick Henry is definitely a winner in the sense that they didn't take a prototype back like himself, which would tell you that maybe they're moving on. They're not going to skip a beat from Henry to the next guy. What this tells me, they talked about contract extensions all offseason. I would be shocked if they don't extend Derrick Henry, right? You could look at him as an older back. He's only 25 years old, and this was the first year that he got workhorse touches, right? So it's not like he's got a ton of tread on his tires. He's still relatively young and relatively low in volume. The first 3 years, he was in a running back by committee. So Henry, I would be shocked if Tennessee does not continue to pay him after this year. I know he's on the tag right now. Darrington Evans is nothing but a compliment back to Derrick Henry right now. We know what they want to do with this offense. It's not even to the point where they want to run the ball. They want to Derrick Henry the ball, and that's it. Maybe it was, why did he not get the contract extension this year? Maybe I don't know. Maybe they were searching for another running back and seeing what happened in the draft. But my intuition says that one, they had to give Tannehill a lot of money. Two, they might be still open to the possibility of trying to sign Jadeveon Clowney or one of the linemen that were in free agency. So it seemed like they had a lot of possibilities open with their financial situation that they maybe didn't want to invest into Derrick Henry when they could just slap the tag on him. I do think that they're going to resign him and extend him at some point. So Derrick Henry, yeah, a winner because they didn't draft like Jonathan Taylor. If they drafted Taylor, obviously that tells you that Henry's out the door next year. Mario, I'm going to be honest with you. I saw the comment you said in the beginning where you said you bet that I would say it once, and I forgot to say it, and then that comment ringed into my head, and I was like, yeah, you know what? Now I got to say it. So Cooper Kupp, Woods, Van Jefferson going to be fire. Yeah, I don't know about. I don't know. I don't have a take on this. I don't think. I think they got rid of Woods. I mean, they got rid of Brandon Cooks, and I don't think they necessarily trust Josh Reynolds as their 3. So I mean, they don't have much on their wide receiver depth chart. So it makes sense that they took a wide receiver. But the fact that they drafted him in the second round was heavy draft capital. A lot of people are just saying, this means the end of Cooper Kupp. They're not going to extend him. I don't know. We'll see about that. Jefferson didn't run at the combine because I think he broke his foot or something earlier. He's also almost like 24 years old, so he's a hella old wide receiver coming in, which was kind of the case for Cooper Kupp. So I guess the comparisons do make sense in a sense. They make sense in a sense. Love that shit. Love the alliteration on a fucking Thursday morning. What else we got? How much is Renfro's value affected by these rookie wide receiver additions? Yeah, I mean, it's got to be massively affected. I was actually really, really excited about drafting Hunter Renfrow late in drafts this year, but this it adds too much uncertainty, right? Like I'm excited about CD going to the Cowboys because CD lands in a good situation, right? It's like a good offense with good coaches and offensive coordinators and a good quarterback, and like they should be high scoring and high pace and all that shit. Like you can't say that about Oakland, right? You don't know if their offense is actually going to be good. You don't know if Derek Carr is going to be a shit show. Like, so I don't know, with all these other variables and all the weapons there, I'm worried about Hunter Renfrow now. Kareem Hunt for the 207, 12-man Dynasty. Yeah, you can M Animal. What, Max? Would you make a fucking burner? Oh, you 100% made a burner. M Animal, and you're asking me, I have the 207, and you're about to offer me Kareem Hunt for the 207, aren't you? I would take Kareem Hunt there. What a cunt that he just did that. What round are you drafting CEH in a redraft? I would say that I mean, you can make an argument for the back end of the first round. You really could. I don't think there's a good argument against him being a first round pick. I would feel way more comfortable drafting him in the second round though. But I don't think he ever drops past the second round in redraft by the time September rolls around. You messing with Chris Carson this year? I don't think so. Carson, man, the guy just keeps getting too banged up, and they just run him into the ground. Like there's no surprise as to why he keeps getting hurt. I really like this kid in the fourth round that they took, DJ Dallas. When you look at his original profile, you might think that he's just like this thumper who didn't produce in college, but you need to put more context to the background of who DJ Dallas is. One, he does have the size to fit right in with that group in Seattle where they want to pound the rock a lot. DJ Dallas was a quarterback, a wide receiver, and a defensive end in high school, and was recruited and turned down offers from Georgia. 4-star recruit, ended up going to Miami, where he came into Miami as a wide receiver, and someone got hurt, so he had to convert to running back midway through his freshman year. He was also playing behind Travis Homer and who's the other running back that was at Miami? Mark Walton. So both of them are not great NFL running backs, but the fact that they had two NFL running backs on their roster at all is way more than most teams could say. So freshman year, yeah, there's no reason for them to give him the entire workload as a just converted running back. So he has a ton of versatility as a wide receiver, former quarterback, running back. They used him in the Wildcat a lot, just like Kerryon Johnson. He reminds me of Kerryon Johnson a lot too. The way he's kind of like upright and lean and looks like an athlete. Can catch the ball and was a very, very good returner as well as sophomore year. Punt returns, kick returns. You love to see that kind of versatility and athleticism. So he is a 4th-round pick, so I won't get too crazy about him, but I think DJ Dallas makes an impact sooner rather than later on Seattle. Let's see. With there typically being a few first, second-round busts, which RB and which wide receiver do you think is most likely to bust? So I'll stick with the first round because there's so many in the second round. I mean, the hit rate on second-round guys is usually kind of pretty high anyways. So first round, I could see of the top guys, of the first 5 drafted that are going in the first round, could easily see, not easily, but Cam Akers. The situation he goes to is one that's not ideal for running backs right now because their offensive line is really poor. He's also like kind of a project running back in a sense. He's not like the most pure runner, and we don't know if they're going to use him in the passing game enough. You want to project him to have that Gurley role from a few years ago, but they threw to their running backs at the lowest rate in the NFL last year. It was like 10%. So if he's just running behind a really bad offensive line, and even if he sees a little bit of an uptick in targets, who knows what that number could be. So Akers, you love the talent, but the situation is pretty shitty there. I could almost see something where it's like Joe Mixon, where it's like, you're praying for that upside by year 3 or 4, right? Like Joe Mixon has given us good years, no doubt, because he's so talented. But like, I think a lot of people when they drafted Mixon kind of expected him to be the next, Ezekiel Elliott or the next, like Dalvin Cookish when we talk about fantasy ceiling. So Akers, I could see busting. Henry Ruggs, I could absolutely see busting too, because Henry Ruggs was like from that movie Heavyweights, Josh Burnbound, where it's like, step on the scale, Josh, step on the scale. Everyone gets excited about it. And then immediately they're like, step off the scale. That's how I felt with Henry Ruggs, where it was like, really excited that he was the first wide receiver off the board. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to buy into Henry Ruggs if this is the case. And then they just ended up drafting 17 more wide receivers, which makes the situation murky. So I could see Ruggs being a really good, like, real-life player, but never living up to, first-round rookie hype or 12th overall pick type of hype. The other one, I got to say, this is going to be a controversial take, and this is one I've been thinking about putting on record for a little while now, because this would be a complete 180 swing for the way I've been looking at this guy. But Justin Jefferson, Jefferson lands in a very good spot if they use him correctly. So Jefferson is one of those guys where this entire first round group is just littered with so much really good talent. I think Jefferson is a guy who's most dependent on wherever he landed using him the right way. Obviously, Brandon Ayuk falls into that, but he's not a first round rookie pick in my opinion. Jefferson is a guy that was okay on the outside as his sophomore year, but by no means is he anywhere as good as he was in the slot. He's not a great separator, and that's what scares me. If they keep running a lot of 2 tight end sets like they did last year with Dillon and Jefferson on the outside, he's going to have to create a lot of his own separation. Like, who says that they just immediately put him into the slot when Dillon has been a prolific slot receiver, and they're not running them many sets where they have a slot receiver to begin with. So if Jefferson does not go in there and start to see 60 or 70% of his snaps from the slot, I don't know that we see enough volume or we see enough separation from him to warrant first-round rookie pick type upside. And this is a very, very run-heavy offense to begin with. So I'm not saying I don't like Jefferson. I mean, the entire prospect profile tells you that he should be a stud. But these are my personal opinions, and I do see probably more red flags than I think a lot of people might be giving credit for. Zip Dip. How do I access the draft guide after deposit the $10 on Monkey Knife Fight and use the promo code? Okay, so this is how that works. Sorry, guys. I know there's been a lot of people that need to get clarification on that. I'm sorry. I should have been more clarifying, whatever the fuck the right word would be. Yeah, once you deposit on Monkey Knife Fight, you'll have the $10 or $20 in your account. You just have to play a $2 game. You have to play a $2 game on Monkey Knife Fight. As soon as you do that, I get an email from them letting me know that you did that, and then I'll give you access to it. That email comes to me every day at 2 p.m., so within the next 22 minutes and 22 minutes from now, anyone that has registered using my promo code on Monkey Knife Fight from 2:01 p.m. yesterday until 1:59 p.m. today, that's when I'll get the email, and you'll get access within the next 5 minutes. So that hopefully will answer that. Did anything the 49ers do in the draft or free agency change where you draft Debo? Man, the Ayuk pick makes things so odd there for fantasy, but I feel like, I mean, Debo's upside, I think is unreal. I want to look at his game logs real quick. I didn't realize just how much he really balled out last year. Like, just how well Kyle Shanahan really fucking used him in his offense. Down the stretch, he had, three games of over 100 receiving yards. He had 20 or more rushing yards in 6 games, 30 or more rushing yards in 4 of those games. Had a 43 rushing yard game, had a 53 rushing yard game, and that was in the playoffs. But to end the season, man, from weeks 8 through the Super Bowl, he was scoring double-digit points almost every game. It was 13 games. From week 8 through the Super Bowl, 13 games he played in. 2, 3, 4. Only 4 of those games did he not have double-digit fantasy points. Only 4 of those games did he not have over 11.7 fantasy points. They know exactly how they want to use him, man. I will be investing into Debo this year because I'm not going to bet against Kyle Shanahan. Brandon Ayuk is kind of like a similar player. I expect them to use him heavily on special teams and use him in a similar role to Debo Samuel. But I really will not be shying away from Debo, even if his production comes, at weird situations and the way they just gets it done. That's just the way the NFL is nowadays, So Debo, no, I'm not necessarily scared away from him. So would my account info to sign into the draft guide be the same I used to sign? As soon as I register you into the system, right? They email me, I put you into the draft guide system. You'll get an email, confirming that. It'll say, this is your username. Here's your password. So Zip, just bear with me. Within the next, in 20 minutes from right now, I'll get the email and I'll make sure I add you to it. What are your thoughts on Jerick McKinnon? I have 0 thoughts on Jerick McKinnon. Did you paste that question in from 2017? Yeah, it's all good, Zip. I realize I've actually had a lot of people reach out and ask me about it because I guess the video I made on the purchase page clarified it, but I realize that most people just don't watch the video, which is fine. I should know that. As a business owner, as someone in the tech space, I have to understand the different barriers to get to the customer to make sure that they understand the process behind it. So that's on me, not on you, for sure. Dynasty outlook for Kirk. I'm not going to get cute and say he's like full buy mode, but I mean, he's still going to be the wide receiver 2 there in an offense that's only going to get better and better year in and year out. So I like Kirk, but the ceiling is definitely not anywhere near what it could be for being that D-Hop is there, of course. What are your thoughts on Preston Williams? Oh, speaking of, good point. Okay, I think Devontae Parker was another huge winner today. I can't believe that was an oversight by me. Devontae Parker, they had a fuck ton of picks. I think they had like 11 or 12 picks, and a lot of them very early on in the draft. And they draft Tua, who gives him he got that big extension this offseason. They draft Tua, who is now making sure that Devontae Parker is playing with a very accurate quarterback for the remainder of that entire contract extension. They have Preston Williams, but he fucked his stuff up pretty halfway through the season. So with injuries, I don't know when he's going to return realistically. I fully expect Parker to continue to be the alpha there. He was so good down the stretch. This tells you the fact that they did not invest into a wide receiver. I think they took 1 or 2 maybe in like the 5th or 6th round, but the fact that they had so many early picks in a class that was great with wide receivers and they didn't take any tells you just how invested into Devontae Parker they are. So yeah, Devontae Parker was definitely a big winner coming out of the draft. Best long-term investment to or Burrow? I'm going to take Burrow there. He's my QB1. I think you have to love both prospects. If you're going to do like a coin flip, then Tua's health injury history concerns me. He's been banged. It's not just the hip thing, which I do think is extremely serious. We actually had Dr. Jesse Morse on during one of the live streams we did during the NFL draft, and he said basically the same thing as Todd Gurley, where it's like when you have one of those injuries earlier on, you pretty much know. You don't know the extent of it. You don't know how serious it's going to be, but you do know at some point down the line that hip is going to be a problem for him, right? He's going to develop some sort of issue or like arthritis in the hip. Could that be when he's 28 and nothing matters for the next 7 years? Absolutely. But could it be in a couple of years down the road if he takes a wrong hit on the hip? Yeah, that's also in the case. So if I'm going to break the tie between them two, I would probably take Burrow. T. Higgins or Denzel Mims, Dynasty full PPR. Oh, that is so tough. Appreciate you, Steven. Appreciate you, Jonathan. Man, I'll probably go with T. Higgins. That landing spot tied to a coach that I semi-believe in, but more importantly, tied to Burrow for his entire rookie contract. I will take T. Higgins because he's going to take over that A.J. Green role, and they already expect him to be a starter on two wide receiver set, or when there's two outside wide receivers. So Higgins goes into a situation where he low-key could see good volume, and I think just the setup for his entire rookie contract is pretty nice. So Rabbit, I will go Higgins over Mims, but it's not. It's closer than people would probably imagine because I like Mims a lot too. Mims has a clearer path. Yes, I understand that. But he's also with Adam Gase and in the Jets offense. So Dynasty, we're going to go with Higgins. Who did you have on that has the injury tracker? Was it Ray GQ? Well, I had Ray on, and then I kicked him off to bring Dr. Jesse Morse on. Dr. Morse has the injury. If you go to Dr. Jesse Morse on Twitter, it's literally just at Dr. Jesse Morse. He's got something. He's got the cheat sheet pinned right now. I'll put it up over my dumb fucking face right now for you. You guys see that? It might be too small on YouTube. But, just go to Dr. Jesse Morse's Twitter page. So it's twitter.com/Dr. Jesse Morse. And he has this pinned to the top of his Twitter account where it gives you like a quick cheat sheet of all of the injuries from these incoming rookies. So you could see all the things that went wrong with Tua: sprained knee, left quad, left ankle, broken wrist, broken index finger, dislocated hip, and all that kind of stuff. So it definitely seems like a little bit of an injury concern. Honestly, yeah, one tip that I have for all of you guys, and I try to say this yearly, like if you're not on Twitter, you're doing fantasy football wrong. There's so much good information and value to be had on Twitter outside of my fucking account, which you could follow right here at Nick_BDGE. But if nothing else, create a Twitter just to follow people on fantasy because I'm telling you, that's where their best work is put out. You get real-time breaking news about fantasy and everyone's input. Any analyst that you value their input as, this is where you'll get it from. Like in real time, quick time. Make a Twitter. Make a Twitter, please. You'll be a better fantasy football player. I promise you. Ooh. Okay, y'all. That's probably going to be the end of this. It's probably going to be the end of this live stream. So I want to thank you guys for joining me up until this point. Good luck if you have your rookie drafts this week. If they're starting up this weekend, mine will be starting on Sunday. They're all slow drafts, so unfortunately I won't really be live streaming them, but I'm sure I'll break them down in the following week. So good luck with them. Y'all know you could always hit us up on you know what? Join the Discord too. If you guys are not in our Discord, which we open back up to be free, we initially closed it off to Patreons only, but I felt like a piece of shit. It just didn't feel right. So we opened Discord back up to everybody where there's just people talking 24/7 about Discord. I'm going to, right now, you guys should do this. Download the Discord app, but I'm going to put the invite link, one, in the chat right now. And I'm also going to put it in the comment section right now. Join our Discord. Boom. It should be the top comment up there right now. I'll pin it for you guys. Join the Discord. There's people talking about dynasty trades, rookie drafts, just NFL in general, literally fucking 24/7. The thing runs without me in there, which is a beautiful, beautiful thing to have. So join our Discord, download the app. It's completely free. So if you need help, there are plenty of people in the Discord channel that are just bullshitting all the time. And if you trust me as I am building a community here, then you'll trust the people in there. So go join the Discord. And if you haven't copped the draft guide, that would be a fantastic way to support the brand, of course, during these trying economic times. You know, Big Dogs is thriving regardless, though. BigDogsDraftGuide.com/MKF. Yeah, those are Snacks's tiny little legs. Love you guys. Bye.